Midwest might look peaceful on the surface, endless cornfields swaying under a wide sky. Small towns where everyone seems to know your name. But Illinois carries shadows that never left. Here, old cemeteries whisper through broken headstones. Country roads are said to lead travelers into worlds they never return from. And abandoned hospitals still echo with screams that no longer belong to the living. Tonight, we'll step into the darker corners of the prairie state where restless spirits linger and history refuses to stay buried. 1 Graceland Cemetery, Chicago, Illinois. In the heart of Chicago, surrounded by the noise of the living city, stands Graceland Cemetery, a place of quiet beauty that hides unsettling stories. With its towering monuments and carefully manicured grounds, it doesn't look like a typical haunt. But beneath its elegance lies one of Illinois' most enduring ghost legends. The most famous spirit is that of Inez Clark, a young girl who died tragically in the 1880s. A life-sized statue of her, enclosed in a glass box, marks her grave. On stormy nights, visitors say the statue disappears entirely, leaving the case empty until the weather clears. Some have even reported seeing a child running through the cemetery, only for her to vanish among the headstones. Graceland is also known for its eerie Eternal Silence monument, a hooded figure of death itself. Legend warns that anyone who looks directly into its face will be cursed with visions of their own demise. Many Chicagoans admit they've never had the courage to test it. Even during the day, Graceland feels charged with something unseen. The air carries a hush that isn't quite peaceful. It's the kind of silence that listens back. At night, the cemetery becomes a maze of shadows where time feels thin, as though the world of the dead is pressing against your own. For a city that never sleeps, Graceland proves that not all who walk its streets are alive. And once you leave, you may find the quiet still clinging to you, a reminder that Chicago's spirits are never far away. 2 Devil's Backbone, Grand Tower, Illinois. Along the banks of the Mississippi River, just outside the small town of Grand Tower, lies a jagged limestone ridge known as the Devil's Backbone. Its steep cliffs and twisted rock formations look like something out of another world. And for centuries, locals have whispered that it's cursed ground. Native American legends speak of great battles fought here, their blood seeping into the stone. Later, river pirates are said to have used the backbone as a hideout, luring travelers ashore before murdering them and casting their bodies into the river's current. Some claim the restless dead of both eras still prowl the ridge, their shadows slipping across the rocks when the moon is high. Campers and hikers tell of eerie cries echoing from the cliffs, as though the land itself is mourning. Strange lights flicker along the ridges, appearing and vanishing with no explanation. And there are stories of a black figure, tall, faceless, cloaked in shadow that watches from the tree line before dissolving into the mist rising off the river. Even the air feels different here, thick, heavy, charged with something that makes your skin prickle. Locals avoid the place after dark, warning that those who linger too long often hear their names whispered from the wind, urging them toward the cliff's edge. The Devil's Backbone is beautiful in daylight, but once the sun sets, it transforms into something far older and more dangerous. Would you dare camp here, knowing the darkness is full of voices that don't belong to the living? 3 Ashmore Estates, Ashmore, Illinois. Driving down the country road to Ashmore Estates, the building rises like a dark fortress against the fields. This former almshouse and psychiatric facility has become a magnet for ghost hunters, each leaving with their own disturbing story. Constructed in 1916, Ashmore housed the mentally ill and the poor, many of whom died within its walls. When it closed in the late 1980s, the building fell into disrepair, its long hallways collecting dust, peeling paint, and whispers from the past. Visitors report disembodied voices calling their names, doors slamming with violent force, and shadowy figures darting at the end of the halls. Some investigators claim they've been scratched by unseen hands, while others describe overwhelming feelings of dread, as if the building itself resents their presence. One of the most chilling legends tells of a little girl's spirit who wanders the stairwells, giggling softly before vanishing. Others believe darker entities lurk here, feeding on fear, their forms glimpsed as towering shadows that flicker just beyond the edge of flashlight beams. During paranormal tours, guests often capture strange orbs and faces in photographs, or hear the distinct sound of heavy boots pacing across empty floors. The estate seems unwilling to let go of its residents, binding them forever to the decaying halls. If you step inside Ashmore at night, the silence grows so thick it feels like it's pressing against your chest. And in that silence, you might hear the faint scrape of fingernails dragging across the walls, following you deeper into the dark. 4. Greenwood Cemetery, Decatur, Illinois. In the heart of Decatur lies Greenwood Cemetery, a place where the dead don't seem to rest quietly. Its rolling hills and leaning gravestones hide more than a century of burials, and the stories tied to this land stretch back to the Civil War. Locals whisper that soldiers' spirits still patrol the grounds, their boots crunching against fallen leaves. Their presence felt like a sudden gust of icy wind. Others speak of glowing orbs drifting between the headstones, flickering like lanterns searching for a way home. One particularly notorious spot is a mausoleum known as the Civil War Memorial. Visitors claim to hear the low murmur of voices around it, hushed tones of men forever trapped in unfinished conversations. Paranormal investigators have captured unexplained EVP recordings here, some sounding like moans, others like the distinct command of a drill sergeant echoing from beyond the grave. Even during the day, Greenwood Cemetery carries an oppressive weight. The smell of damp earth lingers, and birds seem to avoid its trees. At night, the silence deepens until it feels almost alive, wrapping around anyone who dares to wander inside. Some say if you stop too long at certain graves, shadows will gather around you, their shapes long and shifting, as though trying to herd you out or keep you in. Decatur residents often warn newcomers visit Greenwood once, and you'll never forget the sensation of being watched from beneath the ground. Cuba Road, Barrington, Illinois. On the surface, Cuba Road looks like any quiet country stretch, framed by trees and rolling fields. But once night falls, it becomes something else entirely, a corridor for spirits that Illinois drivers never forget. Stories along this road are endless. Some tell of a phantom hitchhiker who appears suddenly on the roadside, vanishing if anyone dares to stop. Others speak of an old house that materializes in the dark, its windows glowing, only to vanish when approached. And near White Cemetery, which lies just off the road, glowing figures have been seen wandering among the headstones before dissolving into the mist. Drivers often describe headlights failing, radios sputtering with static, and a creeping sense that something unseen is following their car. In rare accounts, people say they've seen figures darting across the road only to pass straight through the vehicle without impact. The legends are so widespread that many thrill-seekers drive Cuba Road at midnight just to tempt fate. But locals warn against it. They say once the spirits notice you, they don't easily forget. The next time you glance in your rearview mirror, you may find someone staring back at you. 6. Peoria State Hospital, Bartonville, Illinois. The Peoria State Hospital looks peaceful at first glance, the rolling lawns, the stately brick buildings. But don't be fooled. Beneath that calm exterior lingers a history steeped in tragedy and whispers from the other side. Opened in 1902 as an asylum, Peoria State Hospital became infamous for the sheer number of lives it claimed. Treatments were experimental, deaths frequent, and the suffering palpable. Though it closed in 1973, what remains today is a collection of empty halls where echoes never fade. The most famous story here is of Old Book, a patient who worked as a gravedigger for the asylum. He was beloved by staff and patients alike. But when he died, witnesses swore they saw his spirit weeping at his own funeral, standing among the mourners in full view. To this day, visitors say they hear the sound of sobbing around the cemetery, heavy, heartbroken cries that come from nowhere. Inside the buildings, investigators report doors slamming, cold drafts moving through sealed rooms, and voices whispering their names. The air is damp and metallic, carrying the faint sting of rust and mildew, as though the past refuses to rot away completely. Locals avoid the grounds after dark, convinced that the asylum still holds the lost, the broken, and the forgotten. Step inside, and you might feel a hand grip your arm, gentle, pleading, desperate not to be left alone again. Seta, Manteno State Hospital, Manteno, Illinois. Few places carry the same oppressive weight as an abandoned asylum, and Manteno State Hospital is no exception. Opened in 1929, this sprawling complex once held thousands of patients, many subjected to treatments we now consider barbaric: electroshock therapy, ice baths, and forced isolation. Death came often, and the halls became soaked with despair. When the hospital finally closed in 1985, it left behind miles of crumbling hallways, peeling paint, and broken windows that seemed to scream with the wind. But what lingered wasn't just the physical decay. Visitors to Manteno report shadowy figures moving at the edge of sight, wheelchairs rolling across empty room, and faint cries echoing down corridors where no living patients remain. One particularly chilling tale comes from the underground tunnels, once used to transport patients unseen. Paranormal teams claim to have heard heavy footsteps pacing just behind them, only to turn and find no one there. The air grows thick, hard to breathe, as though the building itself is swallowing you whole. The hospital's cemetery, hidden away nearby, is marked with simple stones, many bearing only numbers instead of names. It's said that these forgotten souls still roam the grounds, searching for acknowledgement, for someone to remember them. Would you walk those tunnels at night, knowing the cries of the lost could follow you back into the daylight? Some who have tried swear they never felt alone again. 8. Mcpike Mansion, Alton, Illinois. The old brick giant looms at the edge of Alton, its windows hollow and dark like the eyes of something that has seen too much. Built in 1869, Mcpike Mansion was once a place of elegance, but now it stands as a decaying shell, known as one of the most haunted houses in Illinois. Neighbors tell of shadows that move through its broken halls, whispers that drift from empty rooms, and a suffocating heaviness that clings to anyone brave enough to step inside. Even from the outside, the air seems colder near its walls, as if the house is alive and breathing frost. Paranormal investigators often speak of the mansion's basement, where strange lights flicker without source, and heavy footsteps echo through the stone chambers when no one is there. Some claim to feel hands brush against them in the dark, unseen but undeniable. The most common figure reported is that of Sarah Wells, a servant said to have died in the home. Visitors describe a fleeting glimpse of a woman in period clothing, standing at the top of the staircase before dissolving into the shadows. Others believe the mansion's original owner, Henry Mcpike, never truly left, still wandering his ruined estate. Today, the mansion is privately owned but occasionally opened for tours and paranormal investigations. Those who go inside often leave with photos capturing strange orbs, misty figures, or faces where there should be none. But the question remains, are these restless souls trying to communicate, or to warn you away? 9. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, Midlothian, Illinois. Hidden deep within a forest preserve, Bachelor's Grove looks more like the set of a horror film than a resting place. Broken fences lean at odd angles, headstones tilt into the ground, and the silence feels heavy, as though the woods themselves are listening. This small, abandoned cemetery has earned its reputation as one of the most haunted places in America. Ghost hunters, locals, and even police officers have reported strange occurrences here. Phantom lights hovering above the graves, disembodied voices calling out from the darkness, and the sound of footsteps crunching over leaves when no one is there. Perhaps the most famous apparition is the White Lady, a woman seen cradling a baby in her arms, forever wandering the cemetery's paths. She's been photographed more than once, her translucent figure appearing in snapshots when no one remembers seeing her in person. The pond near the cemetery holds its own legend. Locals say it was once used by Chicago mobsters as a dumping ground, and some visitors claim to have seen ghostly shapes rise from the murky water, reaching for the shore before sinking back into nothing. Standing in Bachelor's Grove, you can't help but feel the weight of centuries pressing down, as if the forest wants to keep you there, tangled in its roots. Many leave quickly, unsettled by the overwhelming sense that they're being watched. If you visit, don't go alone unless you're ready to find out who or what might follow you back to the road. 10. Resurrection Cemetery, Justice, Illinois. They call her Resurrection Mary, and if you've ever driven Archer Avenue late at night, you might have already seen her. The story begins in the 1930s, and when a young woman dressed in white was struck and killed by a car after leaving a dance hall nearby. Since then, countless drivers have reported a lone figure wandering the roadside, her pale dress glowing faintly in their headlights. Some say she looks lost. Others claim she tries to hitch a ride. A few have even let her in, only for the girl to vanish before they reach the cemetery gates. The cemetery itself is vast, its wrought iron fences and weathered gravestones giving it the look of something carved out of another century. The wind carries the dry rustle of weeds, And if you stand near the gates, you might notice a strange chill creeping into your bones, even on warm summer nights. One of the most infamous stories comes from the 1970s, when a driver swore Mary left behind a physical handprint burned into his car's paint after she disappeared. Another involves cab drivers who picked her up, noted her icy silence, and watched her dissolve into nothing as they passed Resurrection Cemetery. Would you dare drive down Archer Avenue after midnight, knowing that a ghostly passenger might climb into your car? Many locals avoid the stretch entirely, unwilling to test whether Mary is still looking for her way home. As the last whispers of Illinois fade into the night, remember the state's cornfields, cemeteries, and forgotten asylums are more than landmarks. They are reminders that some histories never end, and some voices never quiet. The next time you drive down an empty country road or pass a graveyard hidden in the trees, listen closely. The silence might be watching you. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this chilling journey, don't forget to like, comment with your favorite haunted location, and subscribe for more weekly videos from the shadows.